Good evening, everybody. It's Wednesday, May 18th. It's a little bit after 6:30. I apologize for my tardiness. I was on a late game today that went to extra innings, but it was a wonderful ball game. So we will continue on with that. That said, we'll have to approve the meeting minutes for March 16th, 2016. Mr. Riley is Mr. Riley. Mr. Austin is on his way. So would you like to make a motion here, Mr. Riley, to accept the minutes of Monday, March 16th?
Motion, yeah.
Seconded by Mr. Callahan. All those in favor? 2-0-1. All right, we should at reorganization, but we unfortunately Mr. Austin will be here late, so we'll take care of that when Mr. Austin gets here. I'd like to welcome the representatives from Holbrook Cares and Ms. Claher. Good evening.
Good evening.
It's so wonderful for you to be here, and the Tobacco Coalition. Good evening. And we will, at this point, pardon my hand, but we will go for the public health nurses report. Ms. Longer. Well, congratulations, by the way. I understand the young Mr. Longer pitched a one-hitter the other day.
And a no-hitter the week before.
Congratulations,
Thank
y'all.
you.
Continue. Go ahead, Dawn.
Okay, so I'm gonna cover a little bit of March and April on this. It's not a huge amount of stuff. I did my regular, usual business, but with Maven, I'm trying to close up some cases, and DPH is working with me on that. There was a reported mumps into measles, and all the follow-up testing became negative, just in case anyone had ever heard any rumors about that. Hep C cases are huge right now, just to
Really?
point that out. To 6 over the past month.
Now, is this directly related to the opioid use and abuse type
Yes.
thing? Okay.
It is. Because what happens is I'll get the reports of all the Hep C cases, and they have me follow up on only the ones that aren't drug related, or long term, but most of them.
Right. Most of them are drug related. Okay.
Finally completed the registration for flu, and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
And we're conducting our usual blood pressure
Yes.
clinics at the
Usual
COA.
business, and yep.
That has been a lifesaver for many of our seniors, and once again, thank you very much for the work you're doing. Okay. Mr. Health Agent, we have several things on the agenda on your this evening, but first of all, we had that serious fire at the laundromat. Now, I was there the day of the fire, the incident, spoke with Mr. Moriarty and Chief McFadden, and they assured me that there was no hazmat release at all. Have we got any reports to the contrary?
We have no reports to the contrary, and I understand the building is going to be raised.
Yes, that was a question that day, and the demolition team has arrived and have done some preliminary work, so it should be down and completed by tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, our concern was it's so close to the elementary school that you might have curious.
Well, you know, it's Arthur, it's funny you say that, since the principal of the elementary school is a very important person in my life. I spoke with Mr. Moriarty, and he assures me that the wrecking company will take any and all precautions to keep the dust down and so on and so forth, especially with the particulates of the fire residue that's left over. I was there the other day and it was blowing around, so they said they take care of it.
Yeah.
And he will be on site, and will you be on site to monitor, or? I mean,
Yeah,
I guess that's the
periodically.
biggest concern, the air quality, especially if the wind is northeast, which would blow it right over to the school.
Right, and there's no hazardous materials that we're aware of, so that's a good thing.
Okay. All right. To you.
Well, rather than to me, we may want to invite Sarah McColgan and Larissa Swenson up to talk about the information that I had sent you in the mail.
Yeah.
And we have some folks from Holbrook Cares doing our blue commercial for them. Celebrating 2 years on June 7, 2016 at the Knights of Columbus from 7 to 9. So 2 years of great success, and we'll try to have some folks from the Board of Health attend. And the notification on late evening aerosol applications, ultra low volume, that is the spraying of mosquitoes, and will be done starting on or about May 31st. They've already done one treatment, so
Okay.
the other treatments will start May 31st and run through September 29th. And if any resident wishes to know what day of the week spraying may be conducted in their town, they can go to the district website, which is norfolkcountymosquito.org. And that's all the news that's news for that.
All right, folks, you want to come up?
Okay.
Sure. Are we inviting Public Cares and Ms. Squire up with them too, or are they gonna be on a separate agenda item?
Well, you're actually here to give some support to the tobacco
Okay.
restriction program. And just as an aside, I was in the convenience store across the street from the high school, so we keep an eye on that one in particular. And they weren't happy about it, but we had some tobacco products and some other things removed from the display in the front of the store that they're supposed to be out of reach of patrons, and they take every inch you give them, and they were a little miffed about moving them back, but they
Well, if our new bylaw comes into effect, they'll be prohibited from selling those products. And that's one of the ones that you're gonna be proposing to us, right? Go ahead, Liv, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, I don't wanna steal your thunder. Go ahead, kid. Mike.
I don't think we have an agenda really. I think, we're here to talk to you about any proposed changes to the regulation that you might be interested in.
Well, we were pretty, the ones that you gave us, basically we would have just put them right in. Every one that you gave us is a key point for me and a key point for the board, because I think, not just because I'm the chairman, I think we all speak the same language specific to tobacco. And where Arthur brings that convenience store into play is that's well within that 500-foot boundary that's going to be established if we adopt that regulation.
Well, but the regulation is for no new tobacco vendors.
So they'll be grandfathered in?
Anybody
Yes.
existing would be grandfathered in, right?
And if you're looking to cap by attrition anyway, there wouldn't be no new permits issued
Right.
to begin with.
I think they were one of the last ones too to get one, but that doesn't make a difference as long as they hold one in.
Right, yeah, if they've already had an
They would
existing
be
permit.
grandfathered in.
Okay. That in itself stands alone for me. Am I gonna change the subject if I ask you, how did you make out with the high school situation? With the survey? Or is that gonna be-
Pam and Mary can speak to that.
Fine, we'll wait for that. Go ahead. So, your regulations that you propose to us,
You liked the whole thing, lock, stock, and barrel.
I'm speaking for Paul Callahan, I will not speak for the board. Mr. Riley, do you have any objections to what they put before? Sorry, I'm not being rude.
No, that's
That's-
understandable. You probably didn't even think to put on sunscreen before you came.
Well, I had a little on at the game, but it's all gone by now. We have to get some shades.
Yeah, that's not my department, but.
But when we mention that to Mr. Gordon, we'll, especially at this time of year, we get those strong sun coming in, I just feel a bit like I'm moving away from people. David, did you have a problem with what they gave to us before?
No.
So, and now, I just need to clear my mind, and being an Irishman, I get a little hard every once in a while. But once they're written, this has been established, accepted by the AG's office, correct, sir?
The AG's office doesn't review these. These are model regulations that have been written by attorneys that have grants from the Department of Public Health Tobacco Control Program. And everything that you're looking at has been in place in other communities for varying amounts of time, with the exception of no new permits within X number of feet of existing permits. But I don't think you would do that anyway if you're capping your permits.
Right.
Because you wouldn't have any new permits anyway.
Somebody would have to lose a permit or give it back to us.
Right. But that's the newest provision on here. Everything else has been on here for at least a year to 2 years. Some of them have been on here for 20 years.
So you're telling me it stood the test of time, and if
Absolutely.
we adopt that at our next meeting, possibly?
Well, you should,
We have to hold a public hearing.
Public
you
hearing.
should
hold a public
Okay,
hearing.
walk us through what we,
You
what,
should-
what-
okay, so assuming that you like everything that's on here, I would come up with a draft regulation that takes out all the XX's and
Mhm.
puts it in town of Holbrook
Sure.
and cleans it up and makes it look a lot nicer than this.
And you'll
Then-
incorporate the extremes that we have in there.
Anything additional that you already have in your existing regulations would get incorporated into there.
okay,
Okay, so the advantage to that is that you'll be using the model regulations so that if you have a vendor that is a part of a chain, they see that regulation in other communities.
understood,
So it's easier for them to understand,
all right,
and enforce within their own establishment. So we come up with an official draft regulation for you. You look that over, make sure that you're happy with everything the way it is. If not, make any changes that you want to make. Then you get ready for a public hearing. You have to advertise. Arthur should talk to the town clerk to find out. Every town kind of does it a little differently. Some people put a legal notice in the paper 7 days before, some towns do it 2 weeks before, for the 2 weeks preceding. So you should talk to your town clerk and find out what the
Yeah, we have an
protocol
outline
is.
from the last time we changed the regs as to what the process is, and Dave DeLuca, the town attorney, is gonna be in this coming week for other reasons, and I can run it by him as to what we need to.
Super. So I can send Arthur a template, he would get the regulation, draft regulation, a template for a legal notice to be put in the paper. You should send a notice out to all of your existing vendors because it would affect them. And let them know where and when the public hearing is gonna be.
okay.
And then I can send to you through Arthur, information on how to conduct a public hearing, if you haven't done that before.
Well, I was the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, so I'm very adept
You
at,
could probably write it yourself then.
no, that we'll be fine.
Good.
And having the chair of the Pembroke Board of Selectmen
I know
on
that.
our board will be
So
fine.
between the two of you, you can keep everybody under control, so
Yes.
that's great. And then at the public hearing, obviously, you let residents speak, you can recognize people who aren't residents if you choose to do so. And you don't have to make your decision that night. Most boards generally don't. They say, we're gonna talk this over, think it over, take everybody's viewpoints into consideration, and we'll probably make a decision, take a vote at the next meeting, and we'll advise people as to what our decision is. Then, you make your decision, you vote on the regulations, and you put a legal summary in the newspaper. Again, I can give Arthur a
Mhm.
template for that. And you send notification out to all the retailers that might possibly be affected by it. So for example, if you choose to pass the restriction on flavored tobacco products,
Mhm.
you would send something out to the retailers about that. And I've got templates for everything, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel on anything.
So this will cover what we need to have covered. Now, I'm just thinking in my mind, if we have the public hearing a week before our scheduled meeting, then we have the public hearing, say, on the Wednesday prior to our regular scheduled meeting. Let that set a week, and then our next regular scheduled meeting, we can vote on the changes, and when would that then go into effect?
Generally, you don't want the changes to go into effect, a few days later, because if you choose to restrict the flavored tobacco products, retailers have them in their store. Sometimes they can get the distributor to take them back, to buy them back. Sometimes they can't. So you want to give them a little bit of time to sell down their product. So if you're talking about, having the public hearing, this is May, if you're talking about having the public hearing, at some point in June, I would say for it to be effective, August 1st would be absolutely reasonable if you had your hearing in June.
And that's the exact line I'm thinking, because we don't meet in July and August. I'd like to get this in place for
Before
August
you
1st.
go on the summer
Right.
hiatus. Yeah, I don't think that there should be any problem with that happening at all.
I think too, and if I may, sorry Sarah,
Okay.
if I may too, I know, there were members of the community, gentlemen, that were concerned about, the tolling periods for violations.
Mhm.
Right now, I believe in the original regulations for Holbrook, it's 18 months, so if there's so many violations within 18 months, then they get slapped with another fine and then suspension and whatnot. There was concern from the community to possibly consider raising it to 24 months.
Is it, I wanna say this right without offending people. Are we letting them tell us what we should do, or are we addressing an issue? In other words, I don't want the vendors to tell this board what to do. I mean, I wanna do what's best for the community.
Right, and I mean, that's also why you have the public hearing, so that way they can have their own word. But, I mean, it would increase, like, there would be a chance, instead of just a year and a half between violations, they would be caught, it would be a longer, like I said, a longer tolling period, so. And maybe, I mean, you could also taking a look at changing the fining structure if you wanted to do
Yeah,
it.
you've got a couple things on here that you have a few choices
Yeah.
within.
Mhm.
If you, the tolling period, the fining structure, how long there would be a permanent suspension if retailers got to that level. And that's the tobacco sales regulation. Then within the environmental tobacco smoke regulation, there are a lot of different things that you can pick and choose to add into the state smoke-free workplace law.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Chairman, our public health nurse has another obligation at 7 o'clock. so
You are-
she has to leave.
You are dismissed, Ms. Holden.
Yeah.
Thank you, have a nice evening.
Thank you.
So, I think we're ready. Okay?
But I need to know what you want in the draft where you have some choices.
Okay. Do we have the draft in front of us, near us, with us, Arthur, or?
We do not have the draft. I may have a single copy of it.
I've got,
There are two. Thank you.
one copy of each.
Okay.
So since I don't have a copy in front of me, if, as you're talking about it, you can just reference what it is, that way I'll get good notes.
So on the electronic cigarette ETS regulation checklist.
And that's for parks and,
Right.
yeah.
So the choices on there, the first thing would be, I'm assuming that you want to include electronic cigarettes being prohibited anywhere where the state smoke-free workplace law
Correct.
prohibits combustible cigarettes.
Right.
Okay, so we'll do that.
Number 7, I'm sorry, membership association, private clubs. Where Holbrook is a tobacco-free town, that does cover that, correct? We don't allow, it's like the Knights of Columbus Hall and the Legion Hall.
You don't allow smoking in there now,
No.
so we will do membership.
I think 1 through 11 is pretty much, I don't think the beautification team at the Lake Holbrook would mind municipal owned beaches and other swimming areas.
So you want me to add into the state smoke-free workplace law, everything in 1 through 11 and
Yes, please.
e-cigarettes?
Yep,
No problem.
okay.
All right, that takes care of that one pretty quickly. And I'll put an effective date for August 1st for that also.
That's fine. The enforcement and fines structure, is that standard for around the state?
On the workplace law,
Section 5
yes.
enforcement, yes.
Yeah, on the workplace law it is, and it goes along with the existing state fining structure on that.
Okay,
Okay? So on the tobacco sales regulations,
okay,
you've got quite a few things there, it sounds like you want everything? Or do we want to, is there anything that you don't want?
Number 3, include minimum cigar package size price. What does that mean?
What that means is
That's about some of the singles
the
and the
single
twos.
cigar, bump the price up to $2.50. A multi-pack would be a minimum of $5.
Got it, okay.
Very effective in getting kids to reduce purchasing those things.
All right, number 8, no new permits within blank feet of existing permit. What would be the suggestion to put there? 500 feet? I don't know, what,
We don't have any new permits available.
all right, so we'll just eliminate that one
So we're
completely.
gonna eliminate 8.
Minimum age, being blunt wraps, yeah.
On the minimum legal sale age, which is number 10, right now you're at 19,
19.
correct?
Says 8.
19 really doesn't do anything.
Right, I think,
The recommendation is either 18 or 21.
well, what's that?
I like the idea, 21.
You wanna go? Yeah, okay, 21.
21?
Now, isn't the state reviewing it to 21?
Possibly. It's passed the Senate, the bill passed the Senate, the bill includes a few things. It
Mhm.
includes raising the age to 21 in a way that, if somebody was 18 when the bill takes effect and they could legally already buy tobacco, they still would be able to.
Mhm.
But if they were 17, they wouldn't be able to until they were 21.
Got it, okay.
Hopefully I explained that well, because
No,
sometimes
that
I don't
makes sense, yeah.
explain it well. The other provisions would be banning the sale of tobacco products in healthcare institutions, which includes pharmacies, places like BJ's if they have an optical department, things like that.
That's 17 and 18,
Right, but that's in the state law.
yeah, oh,
So the
okay.
state, so these things have, the state law, was voted on favorably by the Senate, I think it was 32-2, and, now has gone to the House, so we'll see what happens there.
The fining structure mirrors the state law, you know, 100, 200, 300, or is it, or a flat fine?
Or a flat fine of 300. And the rationale for that is, we've been in the tobacco control business in municipalities for over 20 years in Massachusetts, and it's time to stop holding vendors' hands. They know that it's not legal to sell to
I
minors.
would go to a flat fine of 300. In the tolling period, I'm willing to do 24 months. Suspension period, maintain a double length, 7 or 30 days, 1460. I think what do we have? We have 730?
I think you right now have 7, I think right now you have,
So-
7:30.
7:30.
Yeah.
And again, that's it's the same thing. Suspensions are really what retailers notice. They don't notice a $100 fine, a couple $100 fine. A
Mhm.
permit suspension, they lose more business,
Yeah, okay.
they take it seriously.
1460 then.
And then,
The
what was
shall
other
versus may
conversation?
language.
You have shall now, you think?
Shadow the language, yeah.
I don't have a copy of,
Too much.
I have it right here, right
You
here.
don't want me.
I want shall. What do you think?
shall, if you folks left the Board of Health a year from now, it maintains,
Okay.
the stringency of the regulations. If it says may and I sell and you decide, oh, she's a nice person, we'll let her get away with
Yeah,
it.
Okay.
But Larissa sells and you give her, a stiffer penalty, shall keeps everything
Carry
on
forward.
even footing.
Shall's good. Is there anything else in here that we might be worried about?
Again, August 1st on that
Yes,
one.
please.
And, no, I think that pretty much covers everything.
Okay. That sounds great.
Recently, a couple of towns just went to 21, didn't they?
A couple towns. I was looking at the information that I gave you when I left here last time. There were, so we were here when? A little bit more than a month ago, right, or in March? In March, there were 100 cities and towns. There's over 110. I think it's up to 115.
Oh, wow, okay.
As far as banning the sale or restricting the sale of flavored tobacco products, in March there were 48. I think as of this morning there were 54 with, I know I've got a couple more to add to that list in a week or so. They'll vote and they're gonna vote in favor. So all of those bigger provisions, you know,
Okay.
this is,
Right.
like everybody else, this is the time of year that boards look at their regulations like
Sure.
you are to
Okay,
get things in for the summer.
good. Cool.
So the next step is I'm gonna come up with a nice draft. I'll email it to Arthur. And
Are we pushing it too much to get it August 1st, or?
no,
Okay.
no. But if it seems like as you're going through the process a little bit, you wanna slow it down, that's fine,
Okay.
okay? There's no reason to give retailers 90 days notice, you know?
Okay.
30 days, maybe 40 days, that's perfectly fine.
Okay. All right.
Good.
And I think Mary, I don't mean to interrupt, I think Mary wanted to say something about.
Mary, you are always welcome at our table.
I have some statements from some of the high school students that belong to the 84.org, which is a anti-tobacco coalition for youth. And I also have some information from the 5th and 6th grade students that's kind of concerning. So with the 84.org, the kids were looking at information that Larissa gave us about Holbrook statistics. And they kind of asked me to, it's probably stuff that you've already talked about, but, so they want to know that looking at these statistics put out by the Massachusetts Prevention and Cessation Program for the town of Holbrook, we are staggered. In Holbrook, lung cancer incidence is 19% higher than the Mass state average among males and 75% higher than the Mass state average among females. Mortality is 43% higher than the state average in Holbrook. This is especially concerning given that we are not provided with health education and prevention strategies needed to battle against the temptation to start smoking. Some of us have started smoking and find it very easy to get cigarettes anywhere in town, particularly in the stores that have easy access to the high school and the South School. The rate of illegal sales to minors was not available. However, a group of high school students, which is them, when they testified with Senator Keenan, Senator Moriano, and Representative Cusick, Representative Moriano, they wanted you guys to know that they can get cigarettes anytime they want to, anywhere they want to in town, and that they feel strongly that raising the age to 21 is imperative to help stop the high rate of people getting cigarettes because most of them have cars and they can drive to neighboring towns and get whatever they want to. So, going to the 5th and 6th grade students, we had this discussion about smoking, and a very overwhelming number of students in different grades, different classes, different ages, all told about the same thing, and that's called sniping. I don't know if you guys ever heard that term before, but it's about picking up, and it's actually prevalent among the homeless or among addicts that are looking for. These students in 5th and 6th grade, this is an everyday thing for them when they're at the park or at the Grove Lake, and it's picking up discarded cigarettes that haven't been smoked down to the filter, and they either sell them to their friends for some money, depending on how much hasn't been smoked, or they smoke them. And in class, when we started talking about this, they were more concerned they weren't concerned about hepatitis C or any of the other things that they may be getting from smoking somebody else's discarded tobacco. The thing that grossed them out was, well, what if an animal peed on them?
Sure.
This is something that every student said that they or their friends have seen or have witnessed at the park by 10 and 11-year-old kids. And they're learning how to make money off of things that they shouldn't be touching or using, which is concerning. And they're exposing themselves to germs, which, because we don't have health class, they don't even know that they're doing it really. They don't even know what the ramifications are for that, and it's an accepted behavior. And there's even a hierarchy of who gets the most snipes, like who's the top dog of getting this. So it's a pretty concerning thing, and they're very open about talking about it. So it just, again, highlights why we need to have health education in our classrooms, but also, one of the high schoolers brought this up. If Sumner Field is now our home field, does that mean that they're not smoking should be prohibited there because it's a school field?
It's a public field, and Holbrook has adopted the no smoking on the fields, so there's not supposed to be smoking going on at the field.
Well, I can tell you there's smoking at the South School because there's cigarette butts all over the place. If we let the kids go out for recess in that side field over there, they pick the cigarettes up there.
Are there any signs?
There's a sign on the front door that says smoking, there's a 200, but usually you can't see it from the street.
There's
I don't
signs?
think that's an area for this particular board. I think if it's school property, it should be addressed with the school district.
Yeah.
It's town property, it should be addressed with the town officials, basically the board of selectmen, the town administrator. I mean, we can certainly encourage good habits and behavior, but we can't monitor it. That's,
Right.
But like the health class, that should be really discussed with the people in the community, with the school committee. Why don't you have a health class? I'm sure, the state has grants, state and federal grants.
Sarah, you're shaking your head. There's nothing there?
no funding.
There hasn't been funding for health classes for years. It used to come out of tobacco money.
Mhm.
And that's when there was $46 million in the state budget for tobacco control. Now there's less than $4 million. So the health classes are gone.
I see, okay.
And the bottom line is these kids are engaging in risky behavior that's going to affect their health long-term, short-term. It's exposing them to habits that may lead to other things as they get a little older than 10 or 11. So it's
Is your program a substitute right now for a health initiative within the school district?
mine's a civics club class.
So it's strictly,
class.
okay, so
Yeah.
this is
It's
just
not
one
one
area of
thing.
concern, there are multiple. and
But this is something, like I said, among every 5th and 6th grade class that it's a well-known,
Yeah.
practiced thing.
See, I've never heard of it, Mary, and I don't want to sound like we're blowing you off, but it's like Rob says, the schools have to monitor.
But this is when they're not at school. This
But
is
you
when they're
said
at
you
the
found
park.
cigarette butts at the South
Well, all
School.
right, so that's.
So our park,
I'm talking about when they're at baseball games. when
now
they're
that's a
at
different
soccer
story,
field.
that's our park.
That's where they score the points, when they get them at the park or the Grove Lake.
So if we can, I don't know how much more we can make it aware. I mean, you've done your thing, right, with the kids, but they know it and they still do it.
Well, I mean,
And then the ATS regulations could probably help you guys further with increasing the ban in the parks and pond.
Let me ask you a question. Does the state, do they have any inspectors to do random checks of, different fields where these regulations are in place?
No, it's the local board of
Who
health's
enforces it?
responsibility.
yeah.
Board of Health, that's us, on a town, on a property, it's us.
So,
But I just have a question on that too. For example, who would be responsible to walk the facilities and investigate these snipes or any other
Well,
paraphernalia
who
such as
goes there?
hypodermic needles? I mean, who's monitoring that? I mean, we certainly are.
Technically, it is the Board of Health, Rob, it falls to the Board of Health.
Or if someone's smoking, who's responsible? If you see, like at any Little League game, you see parents smoking and throwing their butts on the field any Saturday
Yeah,
morning.
that's
Well, I think that's everybody's problem. I think that's a community outreach to, hey, make everybody aware. Just like Holbrook here is making everybody aware of the dangers of drugs and other things that, that are dangerous too.
Is it posted, Martha, at the
I
summer field?
believe they are posted.
Yeah.
It was something that was done many, many years ago.
They've been posted, but I don't know
And
if
if
they're
you you need
there.
signage, the Department of Public Health can supply you with new signage.
We can make
Supply
signs, the
signs.
town can
Yeah.
make signs for that.
Well, Rob, maybe we should take them up on that.
On the free signs?
You get the free signs and post them everywhere in town.
And if
I don't know
there's,
how outdated they are.
if there's a PA system anywhere at any of these, you know, like football
Yeah, they
games
basically
or whatever,
pick up the.
Announce
they should be announcing.
Yeah,
you know,
But it's a community too, it's the parents that are there that need to speak up and say, hey, this is a no smoke zone.
The parents that are there to not smoke.
Yeah.
Right, because it's pretty much a self-enforcement
Right.
thing. You know, like smoking on the beach along National Seashore or whatever. It's a pretty much self-enforcement issue. As far as enforcement of your regulations that you're gonna be putting in, doing compliance checks, things like that, there is no money to give you. The Board of Health contracts are up for rebid, and so that, you know, there's a possibility that you could become part of a regional program. The problem is there's no additional money. So if any town, new towns are funded, it means somebody else is losing money.
sure.
So there's no guarantee on that. What some towns have done is with their permit fee money, so what they charge each tobacco vendor to have their annual permit, they go to town meeting, ask town meeting for permission to have a revolving fund account so that those permit fees, and some towns also include any fines that are a result of tobacco sales, that money be used to hire somebody and youth to do compliance checks periodically in town.
But that's down the road a little bit. Right now, we have to get signs up to say there's no smoking. I see what you're saying.
Right, well, one doesn't really have anything to do with the other, that the enforcement is mainly in the stores, doing compliance checks, sending a kid in to see if the stores are gonna be selling tobacco products to the kids.
Sure.
I mean, if you've got kids in school saying, you know, it's pretty much an open ball game, you can buy them anywhere. The FDA is coming through once a year and doing compliance checks in Holbrook, unless there's a violator, they'll check them more often.
Sure.
But, you know, there are some communities that are checking their vendors 3 or 4 times a year with money from the permit fees and fines.
Okay.
I think we start with the signs
Yeah.
and we'll go from there.
Anything else, Mary? Pam, anything from you?
The only other thing that we wanted to mention was possible lighting, like around the Grove Lake, where a lot of the smoking and drug activity would happen. If there was any way that we could come up with some sort of lighting system over there, or in the parks.
That would be with the Board of Selectmen and the Public Works.
Public Works, yeah.
There'd be a cost associated with that, so you would really need to justify it.
Okay,
Maybe a petition with the neighbors would help.
sure, thank you.
Then you can probably talk to the town administrator.
Yeah, I mean, we talk every day, so.
Okay. All right.
That's it, yeah.
That's it. Mary, anything from you?
No, that's it.
Melissa, Sarah, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thank you for coming by.
We appreciate all the work you do.
You guys are awesome. Thank you very, very much. You can hang, but we're just gonna finish that stuff up. Thanks. All right, let's keep moving down the agenda items.
Okay. Emergency planning, there's nothing to report. Transfer station info, there's nothing to report. The vacant homes initiative, we have one at 20 Rockwood. And that, we just found the owner, Fannie Mae, and the management company today at about 5:30 tonight.
Okay.
That will get cleaned up in the next several days. 16 Fern has been cleaned up, and still think it's a little twisting, but it's.
They're working on it.
It's much better.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. There is a proposal coming from the health department, and it would be me specifically, to get a kiosk for the public safety building to take needles. Because right now we send people to Avon, we send them to the stores like CVS and Walgreens to buy the kits to return the shop to the manufacturer. But we would like to get one, we priced it out, It's about $3,500 to purchase it and operate it for the first year. The cost is about $2,500 just to buy the kiosk itself. We have a commitment of $500 from the Rotary Club. Gene Terrera had been great about getting the folks involved at the Rotary Club. So we're looking to see if there's any year-end money at the end of the fiscal year available to make up the rest of it. And you know, we've seen the need for it. The public has expressed an interest in it, and we're trying to put something together.
Okay.
So if anybody's got free $2,000 what to do with it, we can certainly help you spend it. And I gave you the report on mosquito control and tick season reminders, particularly the parents with young kids and small dogs. Not the large dogs don't get them as well, but the small dogs are closer to the ground.
Right.
And you really want to check your kids and your pets for ticks, because this is a terrible season for them. I've picked one myself in the last week.
Really?
Yeah. Once was from down at the area off South Franklin Street.
Yeah.
I was in there on a hazmat call, and we have an investigation ongoing right now for dumping hazardous waste. And Detective Mitchell from the Holbrook Police Department is working with me, and we've gotten some great support from the chief to find out. We're very close to finding out who dumped the cans of paint and the asphalt shingles. And
Really?
yeah, it was quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah, I heard that they were investigating.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was a lot though. Really?
What was that?
Yeah, there was.
What was the exact address, do you know?
It's the land owned by the Sportsman's Club on South Franklin Street, just before you get to Quincy Street.
Right. It was in the back?
Yeah,
That lot.
kind of fold area.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And
Where the old junk head used to be.
you know, it's upsetting to the neighbors. It's upsetting to me, frankly, because it takes resources and energies, you know, that are directed otherwise to other places.
Okay.
And we are narrowing it down quite quickly.
Okay.
And, I would expect to have something.
All right, Mr. Riley has to get going. Anything else that we have?
No, we're in good shape. I thank the
Okay.
board for their attendance and
Reorganization
nice to have you
members.
back.
Do we want to make changes? It's up to you folks.
No, I don't think we need to.
Okay, so good.
Pass on that.
All right,
Okay.
so there's a motion from
For Mr. Roston, second by Mr. Riley. All those in favor? Motion by Mr. Roston, second by Mr. Riley to adjourn. All those in favor? Thank you. Good night. Thank you, David.